Hey, I see the event has almost started. We've just loaded the event room for everyone. Should we wait a bit longer for more people to join before we kick it off
I think
properly?
there is a problem with your camera. I don't see you well. You're frozen.
There's a
So
problem.
anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to another Bridger event where we share from our knowledge and experience in the payment world and the technology world. Um, we have Florin here with us, the head of customer success in Bridger, and I'm Ran, the co-founder and CEO. So happy to have you here. We'll wait for a little bit longer for a few more people to come in and for Florin to fix the video issue, and we'll start the event. If does everybody hear me well? If not, let us know. You can speak with us on the chat, ask us questions, and whenever you can, answer our questions on the polls, which we've prepared for you. Yeah, so let's give it a few more minutes for more people to come in, and we'll join you soon.
I see there are already a few people who've joined.
Can you take off and coming back?
Yeah. You want me to exit and join? Okay, no worries. Let me just quickly exit. And let me still frozen.
No, you're back in business.
Perfect. So we're still waiting on a few people to join. I hope everybody. Oh, I see a few more people have joined. Okay. So should we kick things off until I don't think there's.
No, let's wait a few more minutes. It's just 6:01. No, let's give them a few more minutes. Let's say hello to. We have Mustafa here with us, and we have Conardo, and Konstantin, and Marco from the last event. I remember you. Thank you for coming back. And we have Kirill, and we have Yulia, and Ishan, and Kate, and Katarina, and Nir. So great, and Olia, and a few other guys from Bridger I see is joining as well. So great. Good to have everybody here. We are going to speak about how to A/B test payment providers. We're going to give a few more minutes for people to join us. Yeah, see more people coming in.
Yeah. There are a few more that have come in. I think we're good. Let's give it one more minute. We'll see how many more people join, but we don't want to keep anybody waiting for too long. I know everybody here is busy. It is a working day.
So, just before we get started, guys, this is a really open debate. Although me and Florin are the ones that are speaking here, but it's really an open debate. If anyone has a question regarding whatever we say, or a general question, or something else related to the testing of payment providers, you're more than welcome. Put it on our chat or in the questions, so we can share it together with the audience and answer it. So feel free to pop in and ask whatever you want on the road. Let's get started.
Cool. So let me kick off the introduction again for people who just joined. 1 second. So again, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you a lot for joining this webinar. As Ron previously mentioned, my name is Florin. I am the head of customer success at BridgerPay, and I'm joined by Ron Cohen, our co-founder and CEO. And the subject that we've chosen for this webinar is how to A/B test PSPs. And we talked a little bit about this and the reasons why we wanted to cover this topic in particular, and it's because it ties in directly with what was discussed on the previous webinar. So the main reason why we wanted to discuss this particular topic is because on the previous one we spoke about how to perfect, not to perfect, apologies, solving the checkout experience. And part of this webinar is how to optimize the performance aspect. It's the other side of the coin, if you will. For those of you who didn't see the previous webinar, I believe those will be available on the website soon on BridgerPay.com. So if you didn't see it already, you're more than welcome to check out our website, and it should be available there. So yeah, we're going to talk a lot about optimizing the performance of your checkout as opposed to the experience. So let me just load up the presentation. Give me 1 minute. Okay. So we wanted to discuss why it's important to A/B test PSPs. And as you can see on the screen, we have a number of reasons, commercial reasons, which are obvious. The user experience we've spoken about, the approval ratio, the basket size, and the abandonment rate. Abandonment rate can be directly correlated with the user experience, but it's not always the case. What we want to focus on for today is just the... One second. Apologies for that. What we want to talk about first is the reasons why this is important, and it's important to be transparent towards the data that we receive when we test PSPs. Obviously, you can have one or two solutions connected, which can be amazing for you. They can be processing, let's say, in Europe, and they can have amazing approval ratios. But that's not always the case for every region that they'll be processing in. So in order to understand better our own businesses and that of our merchants, we need to, like I said, be transparent towards the data, because we can talk in hypotheticals as much as we want, but numbers don't lie.
Well, yeah, I think when we speak about the testing of payment providers, business or any business that is processing online is facing today different challenges with different payment providers and acquirers that he chooses to work with. There are multiple payment acquirers, gateways, payment methods around the world that are being used in different countries, and in the end, payment merchants are connecting those payment providers and methods into their checkout. And then the question is being asked, am I optimized? Is my approval ratio is the best one I can reach? And like you said, Florin, in many different countries, we see that different or the same payment providers that perform amazing in one place has issues in other places or other regions around the world, which requires you to start adding more acquirers into your stack, and then obviously test the performance. Like you said, to test performance, first you need the data to be transparent. And I think that's the most important thing as for a merchant to have. many times that the merchant work directly with a payment provider, he doesn't see usually the entire types of declines that he's getting, his exact approval ratio per country, per type of card. Again, some statistics you just don't want to show. And merchants wants to have those statistics, wants to be able to be in charge or be in control of their data, and be able to transfer a transaction from one payment provider to another in case it's declined. And obviously to test different payment providers in the same, let's say, designated country that we are speaking about, and see one against another what works and what is not. So if we speak about the why in the presentation, so we might want to test payment providers because, just like we said, commercial one is just more cheaper than the other, and we want to move to a cheaper option, and we want to make sure that our approval ratio is not getting hurt as a consequence. Obviously, if we have two payment providers with two different user experiences of payment experiences, that's another reason for us to move between one and another, and to actually try to see if the one that is performing with a better user experience is also performing better on approval ratio, so we're not losing anything. So there is always there is many things we want maybe to improve in our payment providers, but we must always compare it to the end results also of the approval ratio per country, per car type, and per many other types that you can drill down into if you go to approval ratios. You want to take the other points?
Yeah. So abandonment rate, as we spoke, this happens a lot with apologies. My throat's a bit sore. Abandonment rate is quite common. We have clients logging into the platform. They go in, they try constantly to deposit one PSP, another one, another one, another one. Eventually, they just get fed up and they leave. And it's quite common. And it happens a lot, especially when you have no way of always guaranteeing how specific card types will be accepted by specific PSPs. The client just signed in on the website. He just wants to purchase something. You don't know if he's going to use a Visa or Maestro or American Express. He's based in US or wherever. There can be a number of issues. And then it's also a matter of how does the PSP perform under pressure when it's got tons of clients coming in all at once? You've just launched a massive ad campaign.
Yeah, the downtimes is definitely also something payment providers have, and we see that all the time. This is why you need redundancy and fallbacks. But if you go back to the AB, when you start thinking about all the reasons that involves why we want to A/B test, there is obviously many different reasons, but it always but the most important thing is the data that should be transparent for you to be able to understand what's your baseline, what are you trying to test, and then conduct a test, which is a test. You don't now take the entire world and compare between two different payment providers. You need to do the drill downs to know which type of things you want to actually test. We will speak about it, I guess, later on today. Okay, let's take it forward.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about the why. Let's move on to the how. So the how, you have basically two options. You can do manual testing or you can do platform testing. Now, manual testing, it
I
implies,
see
sorry.
manual. We have on the polls almost 60% are doing it manually and 40% are doing it through platform, which is interesting.
Okay.
Um, and to do it manually also sometimes and let's speak about it a bit, but manual testing is not that easy to do. Um, to upload the payment provider into your checkout, to get a baseline of statistic out of that payment provider in, let's say, a specific country, to download all this data and then check out or add another payment provider to remove this one. A lot of work to do a manual A/B testing, and there is a lot of place to error. And what you don't get in those testing is data that you don't see from the payment providers, but data that is coming back from the issuer. And this is very important when you speak about manual testing. And you can do it usually with when you do it through a platform that allows you to test multiple payment providers in parallel and to also understand what was the reasons behind the logic behind the different declines or approval ratio changes between the different payment providers. Um, yeah, more people are doing manually. Okay.
Okay. Guys, just to let you know, you're more than welcome to ask us questions along the way on the chat.
Yeah.
If they're not in the polls, don't be shy. So, um, yes, manual testing and platform testing. So we've spoken about the complications with both. With manual testing, of course, there's a lot of work to be done there. And as opposed to platform testing, when we talk about having that ability to add a payment processor on the go and just test it immediately, turn it on and off whenever you want, or for example, being able to limit it, cap the amount of volume a payment processor does per month. That way you can see immediately, okay, I've given two of my solutions a million, let's say, to process per month. How has each done uh, in the same time period? You can even do it in exactly same approximate, let's say, beginning of the month. You know that the beginning of the month, first 7 days is when you get the most traffic through, because that's usually when people get paid, right?
So you're saying it's good because you're basically saying you don't only test you don't only A/B test the payment providers to compare approval ratios, for example, or to compare abandon rates, or to compare the experience, but you're also doing it from the other side, and um, and that's a good point because in the end you do want to know which payment provider is best for you to use or for the clients to use as well. But let me ask you something. How would you choose which PSP to to test? Like you have a PSP and is performing, and let's say you want to test it according, or you see bad approval ratio or lower approval ratios in specific countries, and you want to test it with another payment provider. Who would you choose? Or what's the criteria to choose this payment provider to put on a redundancy or as a fallback?
That is a loaded question a bit, because you have so many options to choose from. To be honest with you, there are, I don't know, if we're talking just, we're not going to talk Europe because that's too broad. We're talking here something small, let's say small, let's say Latin America. It's There are way too many to compare, and you've got so many different options. And then there's the question of, okay, they process they don't process that well there with credit card processing, let's say, but how do they do with other type of payment methods? How are they good at do they have alternative payment methods which are better, perform better in the region? And then you also have to take into account the fact that how is the market shifting, in my opinion. How is the market shifting? Because we've seen so many times payment processors performing amazingly in regions, and then I don't know, a specific type of solutions, we're not going to name names, comes along and it blows everybody out of the water. Everybody starts trusting them because I don't know. In I give the example of Latin America. They stop trusting banks so much, and they trust more other, let's call them alternative banking
Or
methods.
Africa with a mobile,
Or Africa with the mobile,
or
yes, exactly.
Southeast Asia with the local payment methods.
Wallets
Yeah.
and so on.
So when you A/B test a PSP, which is, let's say, a global one, and you want to test him on a specific region, would you test him with another global or with a local?
I would test him with a local. If he's my personal opinion is to test him with a local. See how the local is performing opposed to the global. You can always try him with another global, but
Won't give you any.
it
big
might not
results.
give you any big difference.
So I think that first of all we need to know, and you guys need to know which payment provider to actually place on, or as a fallback. If we go back to our slide, and then on a platform testing, you're able to place different fallbacks to your payment providers, and if one is declined, then it would go to the second one. So first of all, you will not lose any transaction, and obviously you are able to change sequences between those payment providers, and in each type or each time that you're testing, or in each experiment that you're creating, you have another set of sequence that you have created, which is of course changed from the other one, and allows you to measure the actual approval ratios between the payment providers without losing any transaction on the way. Because in the end, when you A/B test manually, you're still A/B testing one at a time. You got a decline, it's a decline, right? Maybe on the other payment provider it would work. So when you're manual testing, you're not only losing the data on actual understanding what is the approval ratio of each one, you're seeing the approval ratio of a single payment provider, because that's the one you're sending your transaction to. But you don't see the combined approval ratio that this country, this route can get to. So, for example, you put two payment providers, one gives you 80% approval ratio, and the other one can also approve transaction that of the 20% that the first one declined. So if I'm approving, or if the second is approving another 10%, then your combined approval ratio of this route was, let's say, 85 or 86%. So when you switch it, and you see that the combined percentage went down to, I don't know, 79, you know what is the best combination without losing a transaction, because it went only to one. So that's, I think, the biggest benefit on platform testing.
But if I can interrupt you for a second here, we have a question here from Yulia. She asks, what includes APM? How do you test APM PSPs and compare with other PSPs?
Okay, so what includes APMs?
APMs, okay. Well, APM stands for alternative payment methods. So I'm not going to name names, but I guess there's a broad range. We can talk here about wallets. We can talk
PayPal, Afterpay. There's so many examples of Trustly and Ideal, and
you have buy now, pay laters. You have so many.
Klarna just reached huge valuations, and they're going very, very strong in the US now. Zip as a buy now, pay later. Buy now, pay later as a
global
as a thing is becoming so widely used, and the growth in the amount of payment methods of buy now, pay later is enormous. We are connecting, I think, 2 or 3 a week in Bridger.
But sorry to interrupt you again. Going back to her question, she's asking, how do you test APM? So how would you compare them? And in my opinion, the best way to go about it is you have let's say a region, if we're talking here buy now, pay later, you can obviously do some market research on, depending on what sort of solutions you're using, and see what's most popular there. But if you want to test actual figures, the easiest way is to, like I said earlier, you can limit the amount of transactions that go through to a specific PSP per month. So, for example, you want to limit, say, this payment processor has processed 1 million.
But why limit? But it's if you go before the limit, I think that when you speak about alternative payment methods, obviously you cannot retry one another, right?
Correct.
What do you mean you cannot? Oh, I'm muted for some reason. I was muted. So let's take it back. So we said that if we speak about testing alternative payment methods, you cannot build a retry mechanism on an alternative payment method. The transaction that goes to PayPal, a client that chose PayPal in your checkout wants to pay with his PayPal account, and a client that chose Klarna wants to pay with his Klarna account. Alternative payment methods are also coming with some kind of inherited behavior of the user. So users that are having an account in Klarna and sees the Klarna in your checkout will most likely go there and pay through their Klarna account. The approval ratio in their Klarna account would be most likely high, because we're talking about an inner system transaction. Same with PayPal when someone is paying from his balance. So in alternative payment methods, you want to test different things rather than just approval ratios. Of course, approval ratios is important, but you want to test the usage. So you want to test the usage of, like we said, for example, Klarna or Afterpay in the US. What works better for you with your audience of clients? Because in the end, both of them gives you the buy now, pay later to the or the subscription or whatever solution they give you to your audience, to the same audience. So alternative payment methods, you usually want to A/B test their usage. You want to test the people that completed the flow. You want to test what happened when people having an account with the APM and don't have an account with the APM, and who and which out of them completed the transaction. So APMs is a world of its own, and you test it differently than you test credit card transactions, where they have a very common ground of declines and decline reasons. Marco is asking us,
what are the technical prerequisites for platform testing? What is the logic and process?
So I think the first thing you need to have is to be able to easily add, or first of all, to have a fallback mechanism to your payment provider, which means you are able to control the country that you want to test on, and you are able to connect to that country behind the same payment page, the same Visa, MasterCard payment page. You want to connect two payment providers. Once you've connected two, and it's very easy for you to just switch between them. Can you go to the next?
Yep.
It's the next one, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you have two payment providers on a route of, let's say, United States, and your main payment provider is Stripe, and you've also connected, let's say, WorldPay behind Stripe, which means a transaction that would fail in Stripe would immediately be retried on WorldPay behind the scene inside the session. So first of all, it allows you to understand, okay, the Stripe approval ratio is, let's say, 85 or 90%, whatever it is. This is for everything that comes in first to Stripe. But every transaction that got declined in Stripe, I could also save another 5% with WorldPay. Great. Now let's change the sequence. And let's test this sequence for another week. And then you saw that on another sequence, when you put WorldPay first and all transaction goes there, suddenly your basic baseline approval ratio of transaction in WorldPay is, let's say, I don't know, 91. You grew into 3%, and the combined approval ratio together with whatever Stripe could process that WorldPay couldn't, it's another 5% or another 4%. So you understand what is the combined approval ratio, and it's very easy for you to do that. In order to reach out and to have all this data, you also need all the transaction to, come to one place.
Yep.
And be able to create the reporting that you want from those from that place and generate the insights that you need to see.
Right? Very well said. Yep.
Did we answer your questions, Julia and Marco? I hope we did.
I hope so too. Okay, so we've spoken. I thought that he was typing. We've spoken a bit about this aspect, which is testing it, right? All the ways in which we can test it. What are the adds and benefits, and so on. And we've spoken about retrying transactions in order to optimize payment performance. So, how would you say, because the best and easiest way for someone who says, okay, maybe I want to optimize my performance tomorrow, I want to get the best possible approval ratio, what would you say is the best way for them to optimize it in a region where they have the most difficulty? Because we test and we test and we test, but they want to, I don't know, would you just say that the answer is connect more PSPs and that's it? Or I
think it's related to what we said in the beginning. First of all, which payment provider have you chosen to test with?
Yeah.
And like we said, if you want to compare, in this case, you don't want to compare apples to apples. You don't want to compare a global PSP with a global PSP. It won't change a lot. In the end, you will simply test one network of acquirers against the other network of acquirers. You really want to test your global payment provider with the solution that can beat him.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you want to succeed in your test, not in a way that will tell you, yes, whatever I'm doing is amazing, keep going. You want to optimize your business. This is something every business owner is living with. And wants to do, I'm guessing, every second, and the way to do that right is to choose a payment provider and to choose a battle that can really create a battle for this global payment provider that I'm using, that supposedly is supposed to process all of the world. But in the end, we do see a lot of our clients from, Indonesia that are getting declines and do not finish the checkout, or clients from China, or clients from, different regions around the world that my global acquirer or global provider is still not so good there. So, and that's okay. I think the basic assumption, that there is in the world, I guess it's pretty obvious, but there is no 100%. So you don't have any payment provider that process with 100% approval ratio. And with that being said, there is always place to improve.
Well, that's where actually I wanted to go with the whole question is there's no solution, there's no answer, just throw more payment providers at the problem and hope it gets resolved by itself. It actually does require a lot of testing. And that actually brings to the next slide, which is then the reports, the approval ratio report. And how do you analyze this report, and what sort of data are you looking for in the report? I mean, you need the capability first to have, in my opinion, a report which can show you all of payment processors, how they've all done for a specific period of time, and compare and see what sort of results are you getting in the end.
Yeah, I think reporting is one of the most important tools. It doesn't matter if you generate all this data and take it to a warehouse and work on Power BI or anything like that, or if you work with a platform that allows you to have all these consolidated reports, but you really don't want to start exporting from one payment provider or another. This is not the way to do it. You want to own your data because in the end, payments and transaction have many, many, many types and things, small nuances that you want to pay attention to in regards to the decline that you received, and if it's from the acquirer or if it's not, if it's because of a 3D or if it's so many reasons that you want to know in your reports that will allow you to actually A/B test not only by a hunch or by the end number, but also with the data of what are you trying to optimize. It will also help you choose the payment provider that you want to process with. For example, you have a payment provider that request you a 3D from a specific country, and you go to a local one, and the local one give you a non-3D need. There is no question where is the approval ratio is going to be higher. So there is there are small things, but they can make huge difference when you start drilling down and understanding where is your problem. And for that, you need a strong reporting tool that will consolidate all the data into one place, allows you to easily preview, filter it, slice and dice it according to whatever you want. What we are showing now how we do it on Bridger, and we've actually created this way of reporting because we wanted to give our users the flexibilities and our merchants the flexibility to and the easiness of creating a report. Sometimes creating a report sounds, like a big task with a big many filters, and you need to export it. We wanted to have something which is very accessible, very easy to understand what you want to see here. I want to see an approval report with a very simple native question that asks me for how long, what's the period, what's the time range, if I want to see this approval ratio only for a specific payment provider, only for a specific country and a payment provider. So with many different ways to break it down and create a report that I can immediately see insights from.
Yeah. But you mentioned earlier 3DS versus 2D, and I was just curious there. Don't you also run into the possibility when you're switching from 3DS to 2D to get higher chargebacks, to get more fraudulent transactions through? I mean, that's obviously something you want to avoid.
And for that, you can also connect always fraud detection tools to that specific country. It will always be more cost efficient for you to pay another, a few points to a fraud detection tool that you can connect behind Bridger and enable it in one of our workflows, and immediately have a fraud detection tool of yourself that gives Bridger the green or red signal. There is Forter, there is Riskify, there is many others in the world that you can enable and remove the 3D and 3DS2 that is coming in. So whenever you're using those tools, sometimes payment providers in some places allows you to remove the other barriers that they are putting to you and or giving to you. So it's not only you can handle risk from other ways than just put it on the client and give and put all the liability for the client to continue and complete a very enhanced 3D session that is being done in Southeast Asia or Latin America on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I was hoping for more questions.
Question for Mustafa, I think.
2 new questions. Wait. Oh, I didn't see them. I apologize. Okay, so Marco said yes. He was happy with the answer. Mustafa's asking, what do you suggest on canceled abandoned attempts? How can merchants minimize that?
Well, I think canceled and abandonment attempts can come from few different reasons, right? So
for sure.
we see people that are canceling, or we saw them basically when we started just Bridger. We saw many people closing sessions on 3D. So I remember we've built when we just started Bridger, we haven't built the retry and the fallback mechanisms yet. So we just allowed to connect payment providers, and we started recording all the sessions. And clients were getting white screens, like completely white screen on the 3D. It wasn't even coming from the bank, or they were getting the screen from the bank, but there's no code, nothing comes in, and you see the client going around and trying to do stuff and pressing cancel and closing, and we saw all these declines, and this is why we've built the retry. So the client sees all the time in front of him, even if he got a blank screen, even if the text is not coming in, he is still in a Bridger frame that tells him, please, if nothing happened, please hold while we are processing, and we will transfer you to or we will process your transaction. So if nothing happens, we are initiating the retry, or if he gets a white screen, we are immediately initiating the retry automatically. So the user sees that, okay, I'm not stopping my transaction here. It's moving on. It's going to be processed. So that's exactly why we've built the retry, and this white screen and the technical declines and the cancel and abandonment attempts are many times coming from these technical reasons. If it's not loading, if the text message is not coming, if I have a pop-up blocker and I don't see the 3D, if you sent me to, I don't know, a payment provider page with this logo, so it's like, who is he? I don't know this, whatever pay, whatever, right? So I'm coming to your store. There are different reasons why client abandon. What we recommend is to build workflows for what is the alternative. What are you saying to a client that abandoned? Where are you sending him into? Are you sending him to a place where you're telling him you want to pay with another payment method, or you're looking for another, or something wasn't working? So the place you are sending him after the cancellation or the abandonment is the most important page, and what you build there. If you immediately send him to other payment providers without the one he abandoned, or you send him again to try again in the same payment provider that he abandoned. So
I think it covers it's covered also a little bit in the previous webinar, the fact that the more options you give the client, it allows them to feel secure. Okay, perhaps credit card was rejected because of banking issues, but not worry, I can
but
still
it's
use
not you, it's us. So
yeah.
But when you're telling someone that okay, wait, we are processing your transaction, please hold, right? From his side, he's completely agnostic to what happens on the back. So when we are retrying between payment provider and the client is still seeing the processing for him, we are processing his transaction. It's all well. So many times that we see this white screen, we don't even show it to the clients. We immediately retry. And I think if you look at how you can minimize those attempts, I think one of the places you need to also check is maybe there was a missing payment method there. Maybe they abandoned your card because they wanted to pay with their Affirm account, or Zip, or Afterpay, or PayPal, or Klarna, or whatever, and it's just not there.
Yep.
And that's their preferred way of payment. They don't like to give you a credit card. So you want to know that you are also that you are building your checkout correctly with the payment providers that are widely used. Like you said, the trends are important here.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. I think we've gone a bit. It's almost 44 minutes into the presentation.
Let's get some questions, guys.
Let's move it to Q&A.
Yeah, if you have any questions regarding optimization or testing of payment providers, um, go ahead.
Otherwise, we're more than happy to continue talking. I mean,
Mhm.
let's see. Oh, thumbs up. Apparently, they're happy if we continue talking. Yeah. But I read, while we're waiting a bit longer for questions to come in, I actually read an article that said that, because I remember back when I was a kid and we actually had dial up. And I think now dial up seems like a thing for the dinosaurs, you know. But back then, remember how long it would take to load the website. And now I was reading an article saying that if a person has to wait 10 seconds for a website to load or anything like that,
It's long
they will
gone.
not visit it
Gone.
ever again.
Yeah, it's long
So,
gone. It's the same with checkouts. So you have statistics on how people are, how long they are waiting for the in-process.
yeah,
So you want, as a goal, you want to have, if you look at the world, right, you want to have up to 1 second as a benchmark, as a KPI. At least start with a 1 second processing rule and see which countries are above or below the 1 second. That's definitely a way to, and also it relates to how to choose the payment provider you want to A/B test with. So you have a payment provider, and he's giving you 85% approval ratio, but his processing time is 3 seconds.
yeah,
You compare it with the payment provider. It could be also global, right? If we take back what we said before,
yeah.
it could be also global with the 1 second transactions time. You already see more declines. You already see more approvals, and that's natural because you have people waiting less to get those approval. They are not abandoning. They are not leaving the transaction in the middle.
So
And we don't want them to live in the middle because it creates a world of problems. Because it's a transaction, it started, it was initiated. The payment provider might approve it while your clients think that
yeah,
they haven't bought anything, and in the end you need to refund them, and that's not a place you want to be. So definitely, there's many ways to or things to think about before we decide which PSP we want to connect, and to have as a fallback to our merchant or to our users.
we have
Do
one
we have more
question.
questions?
Yeah. Could you share a standard testing checklist in written covering the most standard common test scenarios? This is again from Marco.
Yeah. Well, definitely. We can prepare something, I think, and also add
Yeah.
it to our maybe Facebook group.
Yeah, perhaps.
We can do it. We can add it to our Facebook group also, and we can also add it to the Learn section on the website that we added. But yes, let's we can definitely share with you some checklists that you definitely want to go through. How to, first of all, how to choose the payment providers that you want to A/B test. Which type of experiments you want to run as just the baseline experiments, and maybe some others which can be a bit more complex. But yeah, we'll get it for you guys.
Okay. Marco says, awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Marco.
Should
Looking
we?
forward to see you in our next event as well.
Yeah. It's good to see. It's really, really good to see people showing up. When they went to the previous event, now they're coming to this one.
Yeah,
It's really, really
definitely.
great to see that.
I agree.
Do you want to wait a bit more, or
Yeah, guys, if there's
see?
any more questions from your side, we'll be happy to take.
Yeah.
And if not, we will say good night and close this session for today. We have a few more sessions upcoming, and we'll continue to have different sessions on many topics that relates to merchants that process online and how to prepare your processing for scale. If there are topics that you want us to speak about, we are very happy to receive them. So if you want, you can just send us anything that you have in your mind that you want us to go through, and we'll build it together with the team.
Yep. I just wanted to say that the upcoming webinar, which will be this Thursday, will be with Ron and Nir, our head of business development. It's optimizing optimizing acceptance rates. So yeah, please, if you're interested
it's
in
going to be a nice lesson. We're going to drill down a bit on a few examples from Bridger product on how we do that, and the data that comes together with approval ratios that you want to test and that you want to optimize. So yeah, looking forward to see you soon, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Amazing. Great having everybody here, and see you all Thursday, I guess.
Thank you, Marco.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Well, lots of thumbs up. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, you see, we did good.